Hey everybody, I have a really fun video for you today. I'm excited to get back to doing videos again. So today it's all about 7 things you should know about Melbourne, Florida before deciding to move here. Melbourne, Florida, it's touted as the economic engine of Brevard County, and it's often regarded as the area's most busy city. So when you visit us here in Melbourne, you're gonna notice the charming downtown, which we really love, the business corridors, the art district, which is super cool, and retail centers, as well as the many subdivisions. We have both gated and not gated. We have something for everybody. But what about those things you can't see or know unless someone tells you? Well, that's what this video is about today. If you dig a little deeper into the Space Coast City, you'll discover that there's a lot to Melbourne that maybe even the old timers don't know about. Stay tuned to the end to find out why is Melbourne's area code 321. All right, and it starts right now. Okay, number one, everybody, number one. Melbourne wanted to become a mega city. Only O'Galley decided to go along with it though. So if you're not from Melbourne, you're probably wondering what the heck is O'Galley? It's a part of Melbourne. It's actually located on the north side of the city. It wasn't always part of the city. It's part of the city now. In fact, it was actually its own city until 1969 when citizens voted to merge the two areas together. They decided that they wanted to put South Brevard on the proverbial map and actually give it a voice in the state legislature. But they also felt like it would help fix a heap of economic issues, at least from that time, and that's according to a report from Florida Today, which is our source for news down here. At the time, Melbourne didn't want to just merge with O'Galley, which was one of the fastest growing cities, so they were excited about it. It actually wanted to merge with the other surrounding areas as well. Some of those you may or may not have heard of, but like in the Atlantic, Beachside, West Melbourne, it's actually where I live, Melbourne Beach, Beachside, Melbourne Village, Palm Bay, Palm Shores. These merges would have actually made it one of the largest cities in the entire state of Florida. But the first vote trying to create this mega city actually failed. However, a second vote that was taken, it actually went city by city instead, and every area but O'Galley rejected the merger. And then another vote was actually called for. They wanted to change the name, including the proposed harbor city, but the name Melbourne just remained and stuck. That's what everybody decided they wanted it. But you'll notice on a lot of the signs it'll say, Melbourne, welcome to the harbor city. I actually never knew why that was the case until I recorded this video, so that's pretty cool. To this day, there is still actually some resentment from O'Galley natives who weren't in favor of the merger. There are even old timers who refuse to use Melbourne in their address. Who knew that? As someone who's only been here a couple of years, I never would have known that O'Galley wasn't always a part of Melbourne. Number 2, interesting little known fact, there's a bone bed. If you're a history buff, you may already know that the pioneers settled here in the late 1800s. But it turns out that Melbourne's traceable history goes back way further than that, and we're talking prehistoric times when mammoths and mastodons and saber-toothed cats actually roamed the Space Coast. In fact, it's really pretty cool. Melbourne actually has a very significant archaeological site known worldwide. The Melbourne Bone Bed is what it's called, and it was discovered back in the 30s along Cane Creek, which is about a little over 3-mile long stream here in Melbourne. This bone bed has actually produced fossils, or the fossils have been discovered right from 10,000 to 20,000 years ago. And it includes, camels, mammoths, giant sloths, saber-toothed cats, giant beavers, and of course humans, lots of other things, so I can't remember them all. Not all cities can boast such prehistoric beginnings, right? So another super cool fact. All right, number 3, FIT was founded thanks to 37 cents and alcohol. So if you aren't sure what FIT is, it's the Florida Institute of Technology. It's a private research university located here that was started with a 37-cent donation. The story goes that Jerome Cooper, the university's founder, came up with the idea for the Brevard Engineering College in the 1950s, but he wasn't really sure about when he should get started or how he should get started, so he didn't act on the idea and found the college until 1958. And they say it wasn't until he had drinks with a friend at a local pub that the idea really came to life. So when he told his friend his idea, one of them jokingly pushed the 37 cents across the table to him and said, "Here you go. There's your first donation, Jerry. Go start that college." So he took that 37 cents and he did. And of course, the rest is history. And FIT, it's a really great college here locally for the aerospace industry. Lots of engineering and things, so a lot of prestige there. Number 4 interesting fact, Melbourne actually has the highest concentration of millennials. I actually had one person comment on one of my videos that if you were a millennial with no kids, don't look at Melbourne because it's all old people or families. On the contrary, if you look at the United States Census data, it actually shows that if you want to hang with millennials in Brevard County, go spend some time in Melbourne, Florida. Florida Today, again, where we get all of our news, actually went city by city comparing the number of millennials to the population and found that Melbourne had the highest concentration. About a little over 20% of the population in Melbourne is considered a millennial, with the city of Cocoa a very close second at right at 20%. I think Melbourne might have been like 20.4 and Cocoa was like 20%, so really close there. But at 1/5 of the population, how could millennials not feel significant? Number 5, Melbourne has one of the best girl power stories ever. This story also comes from Florida Today, and it's a great inspiration for women. They don't need to look any further than O'Galley's, which you know what that is now, own Caroline Carey Rossiter. So the story is, so in 1921, well, if you know history, in 1921, it wasn't a good climate for women in the workplace, but that didn't stop Rossiter from making it big in a man's world. Her father, he was actually an agent for the Standard Oil Company, and then he passed away. So Rossiter was determined she wanted to take over his business. So she traveled to the Standard Oil's board of directors, their meeting, it was in Kentucky, to plead her case. But she wasn't actually allowed in the meeting because she was a woman. So she listened through the keyhole and she overheard the vote over whether or not she would be granted a chance. And now there were some comments made, things like, let the little lady have it, or she won't last a year, we'll give it to a man. But regardless, they voted in her favor. And so with that, Caroline P. Rossiter became the first female Standard Oil agent. But not only did she last a year, she continued for another 62 years, becoming one of the longest running and most successful Standard Oil agents in the country. Never heard of Standard Oil? Well, they are now more commonly known as Chevron. So yeah, she's kind of a big deal around here. Matter of fact, her home in O'Galley, it's the Rossiter House Museum. I talked about that on a previous Melbourne video as well. So if you're in the area, come visit her. She's a really exciting woman. All right, number 6, it's really cool. Helen Blazes Brewery is said to be haunted. Lots of people love a good ghost story. If the eeriness of slave quarters isn't enough to give you the willies, make a visit to the Helen Blazes Brewing Company on East New Haven Avenue here in Melbourne. They have lots of stories told about this one. Matter of fact, Helen Blazes is always featured when talking about ghosts in Melbourne. The building has been around for more than a century, and it's been many different types of businesses. Let's see, it was a hardware store, a Christmas shop, Melbourne's first bank, a funeral home here in town, and a television studio before it became the popular brewery in 2016. Now, visitors have reported things like hearing piano music playing, footsteps, a ball bouncing, children laughing when no one's around. Cold spots show up in certain places of the bar, and employees are always finding things, objects moved around from where they put them or rearranged where they're not supposed to be. So next time you're in Melbourne, if you love a good ghost story, come check it out and see what you experience. And finally, number 7, the one you've been waiting for, Melbourne's area code is 321. You may or may not know that Melbourne and Brevard County is considered the Space Coast, partly due to the proximity of the Kennedy Space Center, but also because of the large number of space shuttles that NASA has launched here in the area. Now, Melbourne's area code is 321, but that's not a random number at all. What do you notice if I say it this way? 3, 2, 1. Our area code actually pays homage to all the space shuttles launched and was the idea of a brilliant Titusville resident named Ozzy Osbourne. The story goes that as the region was getting a whole lot more populated and we needed a new area code, Osbourne wanted to play on the fact that Brevard is the countdown capital. So luckily, he found out that the area code 321 was not assigned to any region, although Chicago was sniffing around for it. The area code was petitioned for and implemented on November 1st, 1999, and the rest is history. Want more information about the Melbourne area? Be sure and watch my video on 9 reasons why you should move to Melbourne, Florida. Thanks for watching. We're always trying to bring you new videos every single week, real estate related, county related, anything we can find that's interesting for you. Please help support us by subscribing and ring the little bell if you want to know when we do drop new videos, and we'll see you next video.